Hello, everyone. I'm Sarah, and I'm a victim. And being a victim over the last few years has been hard because I had to learn so many things and there were so many contradictions. I guess that is why I have set up this YouTube channel. I hope to try to give you the terms, the knowledge to be able to get through this horrible situation that some careless person put us in. Actually, it's given us a life sentence. Now, the man that killed my son, Dennis Rodriguez Cebeda Jr., is in prison. But it took me a while to get him in fact, several years to get him in. And I've discussed this many times in many other videos. But today, I want to talk about something that I'm doing today. I want to keep this man in prison. I want to know where he's at. I want to know what he's doing. I want to know if he's escaped. I don't want to be walking down the street and see him coming towards me. I want to feel safe. Now, even though some of what I'm going to be covering today may echo points I've raised before, it is important to revisit them because this message is just as important today as it was the first time it was spoken. And honestly, since I'm not an attorney, again, a victim, every day I learn something new. And sometimes what I've learned in the past contradicts the information I have now. And this is why it is essential to hire an attorney. But it's also important to understand enough to ask the right questions. You always want to stay involved in your loved one's case. Never forget that. To the legal system, your loved one is just a case number. I know it's a harsh truth, but we must face it. We must face it. Now, I know that many have experienced or are continuing to navigate the challenges of dealing with the criminal justice system. Oh my God. That can be overwhelming, especially when you're trying to understand how the system tracks offenders who have harmed you or your loved ones. Now, today I want to clarify two key concepts crucial to that process: the SID number and the booking number. Let's start with this, what matters to you as a victim. After a crime, it's natural to feel powerless. You want to know what's happening to the person responsible, whether they're behind bars. And yes, just because they're arrested doesn't mean they're behind bars, which I found out the hard way. And yes, victims' rights are supposed to tell you, but don't count on that either. When they're going to court, that's a victim's right. They're supposed to tell you, but don't count on that either. Or if they might be released, or if they are released on parole, on probation. You're supposed to be notified. But if you don't know you have these victims' rights and insist upon them, they're not going to tell you. Usually the excuse is, we have too many cases, not enough people, not enough probation people, not enough prisons, not enough this, not enough that. And that's where you come in. You have to be the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. They have to know that you're there and you are watching what's happening. And that is where these two numbers come in. Now, understanding the booking number. The booking number is likely to be the first one you'll encounter when an offender is arrested and processed into a local jail detention facility. They are given a booking number. This number is specific to the current arrest and only relevant for their jail stay. I've talked about this in other videos, as you very well know. Now, I want you to think of it like a receipt. It shows they've been brought into custody for a particular crime. This is important to let you track what's happening right now. You can use this number to find out where they are being held, if they're being held, if they're in jail, if they've been arrested, what they've been charged with, their court dates, whether or not they posted bail, and when they might be released. Don't expect, even though it's your right, for victims' rights people to call you. To them, it's another case number, another file on the desk of many. You have to speak up. You have to be vigilant and always be there and ask questions. In my case, like I said over and over and over again, I thought he was in prison, in jail. He killed my child, but he wasn't arrested for 10 months. And I talked about that in a video. Then he had a bond. He disappeared for 6 months. Then he got rewarded with another bond. He disappeared for 3 months. Did I know this? Well, I did, because I found out about it. Sometimes you have to go through the back door. I call him the bondsman. It's short term, but it's crucial in keeping you informed and alert in days and weeks immediately following the arrest. And you need to know this information, because you may expect the man or the woman who killed your child is in jail, and they're not. Just because they're arrested doesn't mean they're in jail. And even if they have been placed in jail, they may be released on bond. Mine did not go to jail for 10 months. Released on bond 6 months, and he disappeared for 6 months. How did I find out? They didn't tell me. They told me he was in jail. I found out because I contacted the bondsman. How do you find out who the bondsman is? Well, that's another story to be told. Then he got another bond. Guess what? He disappeared again for 3 months. So for 19 months, he roamed the streets free. I would not have known that if I hadn't been curious and want to know where he was at. In other words, unfortunately, it becomes a case number. Your loved one becomes a case number, no matter how disheartening that is. Now, you may have heard, well, I know you've heard of the system like mine, the Victims Information Notification Everyday Service. When you register with Vine, you'll be notified about the offender status. Yeah, really? Well, again, you have to be proactive. You have to be the squeaky wheel that gets grease. When they move, or when the criminal moves, or I shouldn't use the word criminal, when the accused, that's a better word, when the accused are moved, or if new to another jail, or court date is set, and if they've been released. Yeah, again, that is our right. That is our victims' rights. But don't expect them to call you. Again, you will hear the same story. There's not enough people. And of course, they consider your loved one a case number, and all they want to do is get it off their desk. Now, unless you're a famous person, maybe that might be different. But in most cases, we're not famous. It's a fact of life. Now, the booking number plays a significant role in ensuring those updates are accurate and timely. Now, I want you to understand the SID number. That is the state identification number. And you'll also see it in many other situations, in college and everything else. Now, let's talk about it. If the booking number is short-term a tracking system, the SID number is a long-term identifier. This number stays with the offender for life, tracking their entire criminal history across the state. Boy, isn't that strange? Tracking their entire criminal history across the state. Yes, most of these criminals have criminal history before and after they get out of prison. I know the guy that killed my son. Well, let's just put it this way. He was not a nice person. He should have been in jail a long time before that. Now, like I said, the SID number provides a much broader picture. It tells you about the offender's criminal history, including past arrest. That are interesting, let me tell you. Mine was they took a baseball bat after somebody. He beat up his girlfriend. Convictions. Well, and nowadays they get more probation than they get conviction. But if there is a conviction, it's in there. Incarceration, that means they're in prison somewhere. Oh, my favorite. Probation or parole details. Probation or parole details. So probation means they have not been sentenced to prison yet. They're still out. If they've been sentenced to prison, that would be parole. Now, Dennis is up for parole in December the 6th, 2026. Believe me, I'm preparing for that, and I'm going to be there. And I have that on my calendar because I do not expect them to contact me. Yes, they're supposed to. And yes, they say they do. But after my experiences, no. You cannot depend on anybody else but yourself. Now, why do these numbers matter to you? Why are these numbers so important? Simply put, they help put some control back into our hands. I mean, I don't know about you, but some days I felt helpless. As victims, it's easy to feel lost in a system that can seem distant and complicated. But with these identifiers, you can stay informed and involved, but you have to be persistent. You have to be the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. And sometimes they're not going to like it. Believe me. And like I said in the past, is try to get everything down in writing that they tell you. And if this doesn't work and they want to call you, well, there's many avenues to approach that too. But do remember that in some states, recording a conversation can be a felony unless you ask them if you record it. But there are ways to do that as well. Now, the booking number allows you to monitor what's happening right now, whether the offender is in custody, when they appear in court, because you could be there. It's your right to be there. And believe me, being there does affect it. Because if the prosecutor and the defense and the judge sees that you are there, they know that you are going to be persistent. They know that you are going to check to see what's going on. We always remember that plea deals are something that they want to do right now. They tried to do that they did do it with my son, but I did get him in prison. But plea deals is a way of getting the files off the DA's desk. Think about how much time is involved in a court trial. 24 steps to get somebody into court. If they can eliminate all that, then they can eliminate some cases. And the way I understand it is a plea deal can be done without us agreeing to it, between the DA, between the defense attorney, and between the prisoner. This is another reason why you need to stay alert and follow through. Now, I don't know if I said this before or not, but the SID number gives an insight into the offender's long-term criminal behavior. Now, this is important to understand whether this is part of a pattern. Well, that's what they tell us. But you know, I think the pattern has already been there. There is arrest records. There are all kinds of documents. Once they get in prison, they've already had a long list of sexual problems. And I don't know about rehabilitation. They often use that for rehabilitation. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't some people that are rehabilitated, but if you've killed somebody, I don't know. I think you deserve what you get. Both numbers empower you with knowledge. That's the important thing. They let you stay engaged, informed, and most importantly, safe. You don't want to walk out and find the person that killed your child or their family, whatever the case may be. I mean, let's face it, that's how Marcy's Law came into effect. She was killed. Remember, all these mothers, at least most of them, will say, especially in a car crash, that it was an accident. My son didn't mean to do it. My daughter didn't mean it to do it. Well, they got in a car, drunk. They meant to do it. Another thing that really bothers me is the fact of how, if it was a knife, a bullet, or a chair over a head, that is more important than drunk driving. I don't understand that. A drunk driver gets into a 6,000-pound car and goes speeding down to 136 miles per hour and kills someone. To me, that is premeditated. But then that's only in my opinion. I want you to, with the information I've given you today, to understand, and if you're still unsure about what the numbers are assigned to the offender in your case, I encourage you to contact your law enforcement agency or Google it, or Victim Services Office. Now, that's what they tell us to do. But I'll tell you, it's next to impossible nowadays to get a human being or to get direct answers or to get maybe canned answers. And notification and register with Vine if the person killed your child is in prison. Now, a little bit of closing thoughts. The criminal justice system can sometimes seem overwhelming. Oh, heck with it, sometimes. It's always overwhelming and confusing. But you're not powerless within it. Tools like SID, SID, and booking numbers allow you to stay informed and vigilant. Knowing what is happening with the person who harmed you. No, they gave you a life sentence. Doesn't change what happened. But it gives you information, and information is a powerful tool. They say in Path of Recovery, it is, well, these YouTube is what I do to keep sane. Thank you again. I appreciate all of you who have been following me. I want to stay safe, stay informed, and know that your loved ones are smiling and looking at you and saying, go for it, Mom. Go for it, Dad. I love you. I am the mother and the victim. And I also have the life sentence. of losing a child to a drunk driver. Thank you.